And each time when I put on performance, when I do a performance, I will put on these costumes and then and become the Singapore girls. But the Singapore girls will then, through the performance, do some kind of action that is very different from the real Singapore girls. Yeah, just to make their comments. Yeah, so eventually I decided to work on the costume itself by painted this camouflage, design here. So of course this camouflage design is very familiar to Singaporean, especially the guys, yeah, because everyone has to go through the military service. Yeah, so this used to be the design that they use for their uniform, yeah, and the reason for taking on this design was that in Singapore, if you ask the girls, the young girls, what they like, what's the most interesting occupation for them, and everyone loves to be the air hostess because that's one job that gives you the opportunity to fly and to travel around the world. Yeah, so Singapore girls become, in a way, a very iconic image for us, especially for the young girls to look up to. Yeah, so that's how the batik was used here. Yeah, so eventually this thing developed into using the real army uniforms and then transfer the batik image over here, and then with this one I tried to get the real material and then painted on the trimming, the batik trimming here. So just using the design, the motif itself, to make comment on how all these designs or all these uniforms reinforces those ideas of gender, being a man and being a woman through the uniforms itself. Yeah. So this is the objects. Over here are two commission work for these exhibitions, and the singers continue with her journey. Now, instead of visiting places of interest all over the world, the singles here stay local, and they visit some of the very old and historical sites in Singapore, and they are also fast disappearing. For example, some provision shop that we have here in Singapore. This is the provision shops near my studios where I used to frequent, yeah, and very familiar with the owner. And this is the coffee shops also near the studios in Telok Kurau, if you're familiar with that place in Singapore. This is a mama shop, a mama kiosk, where you can see all over Singapore. It used to be all over Singapore, anywhere, some unnoticed corner, but they play a very important part when you need something urgently. Yeah. So this particular one is somewhere in Arab Street. And of course, everybody knows this railway here, which is very famous now. This is part of the flea market in Sungai Road. Yeah, which unfortunately now have given way because a new MRT station is coming up. Yeah, so you don't see it anymore. Bukit Brown, it is said to be part of it is going to be given way to a new road, new MRT station. Yeah, and there's over the other side a salon, hair salon in Salon Road, and then we have the Chinese Medical Hall, which is in my neighborhood. But I've taken this after 3 or 4 weeks. I went back to this place. It was already converted into something else. So this was gone too. So out of these eight pieces of work, I think at least 4 or 5 of them already gone. Yeah, so imagine how I have been running against time. Yeah, so and here with this huge backdrops you see here is our famous Lorong Buangkok, which is our last, probably last kampong in Singapore. We have spent a group of us. I have a photographer, another designers, graphic design artists who were very good with Photoshops, and then other helpers who helped to produce this work. There were about 3 or 4 of us together. We spent months to kind of work on this piece of work, visiting the Lorong Buangkok, doing some research as well as familiarize ourselves with the people there. So these are the people who used to live there, or their parents were there still, although they have, the younger one have already moved out. Yeah, but parents feel very comfortable in this place. Yeah, so some of these come back every weekend to maintain the place for the parents. Yeah, so these were actually photos that were shot separately and then digitally put them together. Yeah, so what you see now is kind of a stage presentation. Yeah, and besides that, we have also, you know, standee like this. The whole idea is to construct this space as a part of the kampong site that we saw or experienced, and hopefully you as viewer will have some experience too. Now we try to bring the kampong here. And hence you can actually interact with it by taking photographs you like, here and there. Yeah. So behind, I'm going to go quite quickly so that we have time for other works. Yeah. So behind we have, perhaps I start here. In this case, the singles come in print. Yeah. So these were part of an invitations from the Asia Societies in New York when they celebrate their 50 years anniversary. That was in 2006. Yeah, and I was, they decided to work with the STPI, the Tailor Print Workshop, to celebrate this by inviting 10 artists from Asia, and each artist will make a print out from a residency program with them. Yeah, so this was my contribution. Here, when I was making this work, I have the ideas of, gathering groups of women to be the singles, and then go into a parade during the National Days parade, because we used to see Singapore girls parading in the National Days parade.